Hi! This episode contains spoilers for The Last of Us 2 and the first game, so if you don't want to be spoiled, please turn away right now. Bye!
Hi everybody! Welcome back to another episode of All Cut Up. So you can tell that right now it's just me and Enzo today. Joma is doing adult things.
Yes.
Oh, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right.
I mean, we are geeks and degenerates, so sure.
True. Good on him, I guess. But now he's working now. But he will come very often for his not the innuendos getting me. I'm getting myself with these innuendos.
I'm gonna send these to Jomar.
I know, and he's not even here to defend himself. Right. Oh my god, my eye. But anyway, yeah, he'll be here for reviews every so often. But for the time being, today's episode 6 of The Last of Us. Season 1 is with just me and Enzo today. So first, I think I gotta ask, did you know what was happening this episode, Enzo?
I think I would say I knew what direction I was going to go to. Like, I knew where we were going to end. But along the way, I couldn't find out how we were going to get from A to Z. So yeah.
Cute to see. Anyway, I'm getting myself. Woo, let's go. Shitty jokes. I'm having a lot of fun times. But I had no idea where we were going. I vaguely remembered somebody went okay, the person I watch with every week, they're like, oh, it's winter, and I'm like, what's winter? And what's wrong with winter, right? And then of course, I mean, first prior to the winter, we started off with a terrible review of what happened in the last episode. Yeah. And I was like, I remember that being my jump scare. Like, the moment I saw Henry, I said, jump scare! Because I was like, no, I don't want to see this again. And then, I think it was 3 months later, we find ourselves in winter in some place that we do not know, and we're in a cabin, and I was like, oh shit, is it? I was like, at this point I have no idea what happens. I think after Frank and Bill, I had no fucking idea, and then the Henry Sam thing happened, and I was like, I kind of remember, and then from here I was like, 0. And then I was like, oh shit, did Joel and Ellie stay in one place in a cabin or something? Do we live happily ever after and never have to deal with sad things again?
Unfortunately, no.
Unfortunately, no, because I was like, there's 3 more episodes.
Yeah.
And this isn't a slice of life. So I was like, okay, we're here. And then, fun interaction in the cabin. What did you think about that, Enzo?
I like the couple. They were pretty fun.
They were.
Yeah. And I know the actor from somewhere. I recognize his voice. I just can't put my finger on who or what he was in the past.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I had no idea who they were, but I did enjoy the wife who was who would keep just being honest and was really deadpan. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And by that point, it was just kind of all right, where are we emotionally? Am I gonna cry again today? Spoiler alert, I do cry. Significant amounts of tears. But then we have a whole thing where they're warning Ellie and Joel about the river of death. And by that point, what was it? Yeah, so they were making their way. And I think a very distinct part of this episode that I noticed was that it was in this episode, it was I was like, what else do we have if not just to see Joel and Ellie? Because this is probably the second episode where we had a significant amount of them only.
Yeah.
Really focusing in on their relationship, which I really enjoyed. And then of course, Joel is Ellie's okay, let's go to sleep, and she's like, okay, well, I'll for you take first or second watch, and he's like, I'll take all watches, and then of course he falls asleep. And by that point, I don't remember what he says, but I do remember him saying something along the lines of, it's not your responsibility. And I paused the episode in that moment because I had to ask who I was watching with. I said, hey, do you think he said that because he doesn't trust Ellie, or do you think he said that because he now feels like he has to take care of Ellie? And I wanted to ask you about that, Enzo. Like, what did you think about like the development of their relationship until this point, and prior to the big reveal of what happens with so and so, like up until that point where they're like the fireplace and like they sleep and she takes watch and everything. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I think this entire episode finally nails the final nail in the coffin of that. Oh, Joel does care for Ellie, and that he's worried as fuck when she takes watch over him. He's like, why would you do that? I'm supposed to be the guardian. I'm supposed to be your sort of saying like I'm supposed to be your dad. Okay.
Oh, Ooh. Yeah, and like I guess it was really nice because I feel like it was a great culmination and a reminder. Like I will probably say this again at the end of the episode because a lot of things progress their relationship together, and by that point, right? Like Joel has a thing where at first I was like, oh my god, is he having like a stroke or a heart attack? Like, what's this? I was like, oh, there's like a ringing in his ears, and I'm like, shit, that sucks, right? Like, oh my god, old man things, right? But of course, between me and Enzo, we are, we both know, between Enzo and I, we both know what happens. So we're like, oh, he's nothing bad is gonna happen, right? And so we move on to them interacting finally with a group of people, and the couple prior in the cabin, the isolated cabin, were like, oh, there's a lot of things that happen to people both infected and non-infected, and we're like, oh shit, like who are these people? Are these people like is it like I was like, we haven't seen cannibals yet, like somehow in zombie movies always cannibals for whatever reason. Well, not for whatever reason, there is a significant reason. But, it's just one of those tropes. And I was like, oh, shit, what is this? And then, and then we have the whole confrontation with, like, the group of people on horses. And they're like, okay, this dog can smell if you're infected. And I was like, when did we learn how to teach dogs that? Was this a part of the game, Enzo?
I think this was a part of the second game. But I'm glad they incorporated it to this one. Because it makes more sense of, like, oh, since the beginning of time, we've taught dogs how to smell it infected for our own survival. But I thought the scene was pretty tense when Joe was so scared he couldn't really speak or act when the dog was sniffing Ellie.
Yeah, especially, right? And I was like, don't let that dog. I was like, I don't want to like be mad at this dog, right? Yeah. And of course, we hear the whole tense situation happens, and I'm screaming like, oh my god, and then it's like. And then the dog, and then you hear Ellie giggle, and you're like, "Oh, thank God!"
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, I didn't really want to see Joe punt kick a dog. Not really."
I know. I was like, "I don't want to see that dog suffer."
Yeah.
But by that point, I was like, "Oh, thank God!" Right? And then they're like, "What's your name?" Like the lady's like, "What's your name?" And he's like, "My name's Joel." And he's like, "I'm looking for my brother." They're like, "What's your name?" Joel. And she's like, So they ring. I know someone, and we're like, oh my god, is this finally? And we get introduced to Jackson, right?
Yeah.
Just Jackson. Just Jackson. And I was like, oh, and I was like, okay. So significant spoilers I'm going to preface this because I know we're already into spoiler territory with the season, but I'm going to start spoiling a little bit of the second game, which will lead into spoilers for probably the second season. So be very, very warned. Leave now if you want to, or skip ahead.
Yeah.
But we understand that Jackson is, where Joel and Ellie end up settling after the end of the first game. And I was like, yeah, so nice and happy. And throughout the whole thing, I kept saying like, what do you call that? I kept saying like, oh my god, nothing bad happens. But what did you think about it, Enzo? Like, we play quite a bit of time in Jackson. What did you think when you saw it on screen?
I was surprised they committed to it being the full town from Last of Us 2, because in the first game it's just literally the dam and a few guards who are guarding it, and that's about it. It's not a full establishment yet. I'm also curious that I wonder if the little girl who's like looking at Ellie turns out to be Dina in season 2.
I was also thinking, I was like, is that Dina?
Yeah.
But then, I don't know if they've casted as far as Dina already. If only just because I'm like, I don't know how far we're getting with this.
Yeah.
But I want you to tell me, Enzo, like, how did you feel about seeing Tommy and then figuring out who Maria is, because admittedly Maria did not look like Maria from the game, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, like, what was your how did you feel watching, like, let's say from the point of Maria and Tommy on the table to like all the way siguro until like the movie, and like I want to see how you feel about that first. Like Tommy and Maria, how about that first?
I kind of
Like seeing them.
I kind of like this version of Maria than the game, because the game Maria is just like an average person.
Like an NPC.
Yeah. Like
Is an NPC.
there's
But...
not much to her backstory other than she's just the default wife of Tommy. I like to give her more story and to make her sound even more smarter and like, how to say this, a determined person who is a established leader in her community. You're like, I like that.
yeah, right.
And with Tommy and Joel, you can sense there's still tension, but they're so happy to see each other up until their conversation of like, I didn't judge you for the things you did, and he's like, but we killed people. And then he's like, I can't bring Ellie all the way to the university because I have a kid on the way. And then Joel's like, all right, that's cool, let's see what happens. He's like, let's see what happens. What kind of fucking response is that?
Yeah. Like, actually, he says that, right, in response to, I hope I'll be a good dad. And he's like, let's see what happens. And I was like, don't be such an asshole. Like, just because you lost shit doesn't mean he doesn't get to be happy, right?
Yeah,
especially since he has a kid.
It's like,
Yeah, but I was like,
just because life stopped for you doesn't mean it stopped for me. And you're like, oh.
yeah, exactly, right? And I was like, Joel, don't be mean.
Right.
Don't be mean. Like, I'm sorry you don't want to make a connection with Ellie.
Right.
Or you don't want to admit your connection to Ellie. And of course, like, it's a lot of... this is like the social dialogue part of this game. If you had to, like, in this part of the scene, like, nothing really actiony happens, but it is a lot of like, they will remember this, I feel.
Yeah.
And like moving on, so from Tommy and Joel at that point, it's, oh, by the way, how did you think of Tommy? Because like, I remember the person I was watching with was like, I don't really like Tommy here. Like, he seems like such a like, I don't know the term, like, he's kind of like a greasy, like, fuckboy kind of dude, like a dude bro guy in the beginning, right? Because he's like, Joel, I'm in jail, you gotta get me out, bruh. And now he's like, you know, so much more mature. And I had to ask them, like, what do you think of seeing Tommy now? And they're like, okay, that's my Tommy. And I was like, yeah, I like how they changed, like, developed his character. And then, but how did you feel seeing him, like, after all this time, you know?
I mean, I did not like him in the first episodes because I was like, oh, cool, Gabriel Luna's Tommy, and like I didn't feel like he was a fuckboy. And then like I do like his development now, where he has to step up as a leader, and he has to help out with the town, and him and this bunch of communists have to just protect it. Yeah,
I remember that dialogue where it's like this is a commune, we are communists, and like the like very the very like capitalist American in him is like, oh my fucking god, you know? And I'm like, who's gonna tell him you are? It's like, sir, where does the commune and communists come from? Right? My god, I'm like in a news, obviously I think people are looking at the video, I'm like in a different room now. And like the light is so bright.
It's like John Marshall shut up.
I know. Okay, I think this is somewhat better. I have to fix the lighting soon. But anyway, and I was like, okay. And then, so while they're having that talk at the bar, we move on to, oh my god, my nose. We move on to Ellie taking her shower for the first time in probably a long ass while, you know, and then she finally gets, okay, so I don't know, I feel like, I wish Jomo was here because I also want to think. I was like, and so did you know what she picked up from the bed that Maria gave her?
No, what?
The thing that she picked up. The plastic thing.
I have no idea what it is.
Oh my god. We move on to like the bed thing, right? And then like she picks something up. And for those who menstruate, you understand that is a menstrual cup. And I was like, wow, I love the fact that we keep addressing that, you know, these normal bodily functions that happen to us is being acknowledged. Because, like, I mean, honestly, I feel like that's a running joke amongst people who menstruate. Like, we're always where, like, what happens in an apocalypse when you don't have, like, tampons or pads or something? And then, like, God bless menstrual cups being invented, because those things are supposed to last, like, 10 plus years, because it's, like, medical grade silicone. So, if you're wondering, it works like a tampon, Enzo. So you just, whoop, it goes, whoop. So yeah, and it's really good for you, and it's really easy to take care, and you don't have to worry so much about looking for tampons out in the wild the way that Ellie was, because I was like, those are for sure fucking expired. Should you be putting it up your coochie? So yeah, be careful, everybody. Menstrual cups, great things. Even Enzo's like, I wish everyone could see Enzo just nodding, because like a part of me was like, I wanted to ask. Joma's not here, so he can't like play off this, but I had to ask Enzo. I was like, Enzo, what do you think that is?
Nah, like what else can I add?
Nodding, yeah. It's okay. It was special Nina older sister at the time. But anyway, from that point, now we're like with Ellie and Maria in their house, and we see on the chalkboard. And I want to ask Enzo how you felt about this entire scene, like the whole thing from the beginning to like when Ellie is very, very decidedly socially rude.
Yeah, I mean, like in the game, there's a conversation of like, oh, Maria told me what happened to Star. You're like, when did this conversation happen? And then like when Joel's like, oh, Tommy and I talked about bringing you to the university again. You're like, when do these conversations happen? Tommy was with me the whole time. He never said shit.
I was with Ellie.
Yeah. So it fills in the gaps nicely, and I do like Maria telling Ellie like, be sure to who you put your faith in, be sure you can trust them 100%, because this is the apocalypse, and I don't want you dying because of that.
Yeah, because admittedly, up until this point, right, like we are under the understanding that Joel has to kill people. Joel has to kill people to get by, innocent or not. It's what they do, because that is what you do to survive. That's how you made it this far, and like I guess a part of me was like, I understand the fear, because admittedly Ellie is like a 14-year-old kid, and I understand Maria's side, but I'm also like, she also has the privilege of having been in like a very safe community for the longest time now. Like 7 years in an apocalypse is not a short time. That is a long time to enjoy peace and trust with people, right? Versus like Joel, who never got to breathe, like everything was taken away from him consistently, and it's like, dang, he really can't catch a break, huh?
Yeah, poor Joel.
Yeah, and then we see the whole Sarah and Joel, and like I thought it was really nice, because I said, I don't know about you, Enzo, but I found it nice that like even after 20 years later, Tommy still is so like still loves her so much that he made it a memorial for her, like in a very obvious way, so they always remember.
Yeah.
And how did you feel about that? Like, was that in the game?
No, we never saw Tommy's house. Again, it was just
really? Okay.
It was just dam, and this is where we sleep in this makeshift container. That's about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Though when Ellie saw the note inviting her to the house, I was like, is that from Dina? And then she picks up the menstrual cup. I was like, what's that? And then you see the instructions. I'm like, oh, you put it inside you. Okay.
Did you know? Like, did you know in the moment? Were you like,
I've heard of what they are. I just never seen one. I mean,
makes sense.
I've always never asked the person like, can I see the cup? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
No, I was just like, I always wondered like what like I was really thinking in my head like, what am I gonna ask Joma and Enzo in the review when we see this?
I mean, I know what tampons look like just because of TikTok. It's like, oh, that's
yeah. Makes sense. It's fair.
Like, you've seen the ones of like girlfriends being like, "This is how a tampon works, boyfriend." I'm like, oh, that's interesting. The more I know.
Oh my god, interesting, right?
The boyfriend and I are both learning shit, but it's not about that. It's about lots of us.
Yeah, but enough with the menstruating. Let's talk about mushrooms.
Yes.
Actually, which is funny enough, considering we didn't even see a single infected the whole time, and yet somehow it was just the stance. And throughout all of it, I feel like ever since they first connect, right, like Joel and Tommy, like I was always wondering, like, why was Ellie so scared almost the whole time? Like there was always a level of anxiety that she seemed to have. And of course, then it makes sense, right? Like she finds out about Sarah. She's like, oh, now the gaps are filling in, and then it's the whole thing with like, now we're getting to the part that's really tough. So post like, Ellie's looking for Joel everywhere, and she makes her way to where she thinks she can find him, and there. Of course, we don't find out about this until after. Joel and Tommy have another really, really serious talk. And I want to ask Enzo how did you feel when this went out? Because I feel like I'm going to preface this by saying, admittedly, I was not expecting it to be so subtle. But then I'm like, of course it's subtle. It's not they're not voice acting. They're acting. So makes sense. But how about you, Enzo?
Up until the second game, I never seen a vulnerable side to Joe until like the second game, or like the last few minutes of the last game. So seeing him like tell Tommy, like, I'm too weak to do this, you have to do this, I can't bear the thought of losing Ellie. I'm like, that's a side I've never seen of Joel. And if Pedro Pascal doesn't win an Emmy, that's a crime because he's acting his heart out.
It really is. And like, I feel at this point, right, everything finally falls into place because we finally, as an audience, get to verbally and like visibly see Joel wanting so much more for Ellie that he knows he can give her. And I think we understand, right? Like it burdens him that she had to kill somebody for him. She had to hurt somebody for him. She would take up the slack that he could not do. And that's the thing, right? It's like, I feel like that's most parents, or if not all parents all loving parents with their kids, where, you feel this kind of sense of you want to do everything for your kid, especially in a time where you're not even sure if your kid is gonna make it past, 15 or 16, right? Like, honestly, even the first year of birth, you're like, dang, is this kid gonna make it? And obviously, Ellie does, but it's tough. And I was crying so bad because it was so good. I oh my god, like, his lines are like, what, like, I can't do this. Like, what else was there, Enzo? I'm trying to remember. I had to block it out because it was emotionally not okay. I was not okay.
The only time I dream of failing Ellie again and again, like I did Sarah. You're like, oh damn.
Yeah. I was like, this is really, really good because I feel like because we didn't get a lot of, because obviously it's a show, right? You can't like just have them walk around making conversation with nothing happening. Like, I feel like seeing this was a really good step in developing their relationship because, you have the time to watch them develop in a video game when you're playing for like, 30, 40 plus hours, you get to see them interact all that time. But the show does a really good job, and I was like bawling my eyes out. And Tommy's like, you know what? Let me do this for you. You deserve to feel some form of some form of rest and peace, right? And then we move on to that scene.
And I was like, knocks you out.
Huh?
The scene that you said knocked you out every time you watch
Pretty much, yeah. And I was like, what was funny was because the person I was watching with was like, oh my god, doesn't this look like The Room? And I was like, what room? And then it doesn't happen at night. So I was like, at night?
Yeah.
It doesn't happen at night. So I was like, is it happening? And then like when Joel comes into Ellie like being mad and stuff, I was like, oh, is this where we're going? I'm not emotionally ready. Like,
right?
I just finished crying because Joel was sad that he couldn't take care of Ellie, and now we're here. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was caught off guard too. I was like, I thought Ellie runs away first.
Yeah, right. But it seems that she confronts him, and I think like pacing wise, it makes sense because we can't really have like a lot going on, like so long. 9 episodes, even if they're quite long, is still only 9 episodes.
Yeah.
And so we have the line, like it's a whole confrontation. And okay, I have my opinions, but what about you, Enzo? Like, what were your opinions seeing that? Because if I'm correct, it's pretty much 1-to-1 almost.
Yeah, the only difference is that Joel here goes, "Don't say another word." Where in the game, he's like, "You're walking some mighty thin ice here." But like,
yeah.
at a point, like my memory from the game, and as this was going on, they just merged together. I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like Ashley Johnson and Bella Ramsey just merged into one person. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Oh my god, but I think that it is a testament to pretty much Bella Ramsey embodying and just being Ellie at that point, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like the only difference again is like in the game, Ashley Johnson's like screaming the lines of like, everyone I've ever cared for has either died or left me. And here Bella Ramsey like slowly says it, and then she does the push. You're like, right, this is the scene that every time I'm like, people ask me like, why is The Last of Us different from every zombie game? I just showed them this scene. I was like, here's the context. Watch this scene, and then come back to me and tell me it's just another zombie game, because it's not.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I have no bad comments. I just found it was just another thing where it was like, yes, they are making use of the fact that this is not a video game, because in like video games, the way that you convey yourself, a voice is really different to someone fully embodying a character. And I appreciated Bella Ramsey's choice to go slower and go, because it just feels like whereas Ashley Johnson's performance is like an explosion of like anger, fear, and everything, Bella Ramsey's was like the heaviest weight, because right up until that point, right, Joel says to Tommy like, it's kind of like the thing where it's like, I don't know if what I'm doing for her is correct. I can't do for her what I want to do. Versus like Bella Ramsey's Ellie, it hangs heavy, because it's true, right? It's like, she's right. Everyone that so far seems to just be leaving or dying, and the only person that she finally finds connection with after so long, for a significant amount of time, it wants to leave her. And I feel like that was a different way, and I'm just like, oh shit, like, does he really know what's right for her? And then there's the whole like, I'm not her, and you're like, Wah! And I was like, oh my god, she said it. And then he says the line that I hate the most, that I sure as hell hate your dad. And I was like, ah! And I was like screaming, and I was like crying on the floor, like, ah. But admittedly, I did cry more at the scene prior, because to me, seeing Joel break down, so like Pedro Pascal playing out that breaking down so well, honestly did more for me, because it was like, if only he could tell Ellie that, it's like, God, I wish he spoke to her, but I mean, that was so, but like, and then after that, how about the aftermath? And so how did you feel like when the next morning and everything?
After everything stopped like being cross-wired, I was like, where do we go from here? Because I know,
I actually was like, there's like 20 minutes left.
Yeah, I'm like, again, going from the game, I was like, he does take her, right? And then like the next morning,
I like how you question yourself. Like,
am I remembering the game right? And then thankfully he does. I like how quick Ellie's like, he's like, you have a choice between me and oh, it's me. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, and I love that, because I feel like, I mean, I forgot how it like resolves itself in the game.
Yeah.
But I really, really enjoy that it's almost just like, now they fight, like everything, the walls have fully broken down between them, and you can see how comfortable they slip into each other's company, and it feels so good to see and feel, because it's like, we know you guys were going to love, like, not really like, like love being with each other, and like trust each other and find each other's walls breaking down. It's like, finally, right? And then after they leave, we get the cutest scene. The cutest
The
scene where
sniper
he's
scene?
like teaching her how to the shoot, and I was like,
Yeah.
ah. Does that happen in the game?
No, but for some reason the second game, Ellie's really good at sniping, so we're like this makes it make more sense.
Yeah, and she's like, no, it's not my fault. And of course, Joel being Joel, he's like, you sure?
Yeah.
You sure about that?
Though when they started to bond over football, I'm like, shit, they're in the university already. I guess this is where Joel takes a back seat.
I know. For me at this point, right? I'm like, I have no fucking idea what happens.
Yeah.
Like, I only remember bits and pieces, but I don't know a lot of where the order goes, and I don't know a lot of I remembered it as it was happening. So we find out, of course, very video game of them. Oh, we made it to a place, but no one's here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh. And then people find out, dangerous people are like, damn, get these people. And then that scene happens, and I'm like, what's this? I was like, what's going on?
Yeah. For me, I was like, does Joel not fall down and get impaled? Are we not doing that scene?
Apparently, that's a very Naughty Dog thing to happen.
Yeah.
Because the person I watch with also plays video games, obviously played this game and a number of other Naughty Dog games, and they're like, they really like stabbing them there. And I was like, well, yeah, because it's probably the easiest way to not kill them, but give some drama, right?
Yeah.
And then it happens, he gets stabbed, and I'm like, don't pull it out! And as soon as I say don't pull it out, he pulls it out. And it's like,
it's like, yeah, Joel's not a medical expert, but sure.
I'm like, sir, you lived 20 years. Isn't the first thing you learn not to remove the thing that's keeping your blood inside your body
Right.
where it's supposed to be?
Apparently not.
And then we have a whole tense thing, and it's like, wow, finally, Joel and Ellie trust each other, and they're happy, and nothing bad happens. They don't see I kept making this joke, like when they couldn't find the fireflies. I said, then they go back to Jackson, and nothing happens, and they live the rest of their lives in peace.
If only.
I've only, right? And then, yeah, go ahead.
Ellie screaming Joel to get back up. I was like, this is bringing back a lot of bad memories. I don't like it.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Like, it's not.
And then
I know what happens in the first game, but her just being like, get up, Joel. I was like, please, Ellie, stop saying that. You're bringing back memories of the second game. I don't like it, please.
Yeah, I know. She was like, Joel. I was like bringing myself. I was like, God, I remember. That's what I remembered.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't this the part in the game where you play as her? And my friend was like, yeah. And I was like, oh. And then they were like, I remember they said, this is the time. I was like, no more big man to do punches, only run and cry.
Apparently so.
The truest stealth in the game, it's not Joel with his knees breaking as he crawls around. It's Ellie not being able to kill anybody because she's too small.
He's a 14-year-old child.
Yeah, and I was like, and then that happens, and I was like, so that's how it ends. And you know what? I wish almost that we just ended with them in the sniper scene, but no, we had to end with the scene. And of course, for people. Shit, did we spoil the next episode?
Not really.
Okay, we didn't.
Yeah.
But for sure, again, for whatever it's worth, everybody, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry if we have given any form of hints about the next episode. But admittedly,
or the future in general.
Or the future in general. But I mean, can you really blame us? It's been 10 years or 13. How long has it been? 10 years. 10 years because it came out in 13.
Yeah.
It's been 10 years since the game came out. But we'll try our best. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But anyway, so with that, it ends and we're like, So for people who may not know the game, they're like, but what happens? They're 5 days away from Jackson, and now it's probably still going to be a week. And it's like, And I was like, I feel like this was the thing that the person I was watching it was so excited to see. They were so excited and dreading because they were like, oh, it's winter. Because I was like, what's wrong with winter? Well, winter is coming. It's not Game of Thrones. I was like, huh? But how did you feel about that episode? Wrapping up Enzo, how does it make you feel seeing that?
I was like, oh, cool. My favorite part of the game is about to begin.
Was it really?
Yeah, I do It's like it really forces you to be stealthy because you're like, fuck, I can't run up and beat the shit out of people anymore. I'm a
you're no longer big bad, only small child.
Yeah, I told Jomer just like I'm so used to Ellie being able to handle herself in the second game.
In the second game.
In the first game, I'm like, all right, I forgot when you try to stab someone, they just block you, then punch you. Like, all right, I'm 14. I'm not supposed to be able to overpower people.
Oh right, I'm 14.
Yeah.
By the way, she's 14. If you guys didn't know, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like I was really happy that this episode turned out the way that it did because I feel like I really liked the verbal invisible fear and dread that Joel had. I feel like it's terrible to say I enjoyed seeing him sad, but like, you know, we see him for 6 episodes being this stoic guy, and to see him fully break down, and we had the glimpses here and there where he was kind of like already warming up, but to see him fully emoting and fully feeling his feelings and telling someone he trusts how much he cares for her, you know. But at the end of the day, right, like it's like, you know, you think you're gonna do better, you're doing a good choice by leaving her, but in reality she's just gonna be like, she says, I'm just gonna be more scared. And I was like, that got me. And I was like, wow, happy nothing bad happens. And then the end of the episode happens and I'm like,
well,
yeah, I forgot it's The Last of Us.
Yeah, like you said, it's not what Days of Our Lives were like, I guess it's happy.
But at the end of it, how did you feel though, Enzo, like overall with the episode?
Very satisfied. Like this show just keeps getting better. If not better, at least it's at a steady pace of like consistent good quality of like, goddamn, this show's better than I expected it to be. And I hope for future video game adaptations they follow the structure that The Last of Us has set.
I'm trying to think, were there any other video game things that are coming out soon? Because the only like game thing I know is like Dungeons and Dragons. Should we review that?
I kind of don't want to, but we have to.
I kind of want to, only for the hell of it. But we'll see. And then we watch Mortal. Oh my god, let's do a whole thing where it's like Mortal Kombat, Dungeons and Dragons, and what's the other one? And then we'll do the Mario movie.
I know there's the Fallout show is coming soon, so that's
We
about
have
it.
that?
Yeah, Amazon's making
HBO?
it. Amazon.
Oh, Amazon. Okay. I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like, I mean, like, is it? What do you do with that kind of game?
I feel like you have more freedom since it's like a go anywhere, do anything kind of game.
No, but that's the thing, right? It's like you think you have more freedom, but then what do you do with a story where everything can happen at any time, right? Like there's no, because the difference, right, is like Last of Us has a significant narrative beat, like a consistent one. So even though it seems harder in that you can't do a lot, I feel like it's actually harder when you don't have a story to follow. Like in New Vegas, you get shot, boom, what happens? Sorry, it's not wrong. You shot in the head, and then what?
What happens when you nuke an entire town? Like, what the fuck?
I mean, it's true though,
Yeah.
but like, anyway.
I also, if you listen closely to this episode, there's like a whole plethora of like Last of Us 2 Easter eggs. Where like, I don't know if I should like this or not like this, but cool.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really catch them because I haven't played and I didn't really get in depth. I kind of want to go into it blind, admittedly. So
Yeah, like you mentioned, like you are a defender of The Last of Us 2, and I do admit, like at the point,
I'm not a defender. I just don't believe that it deserves the vitriol.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
there's a difference between. I hope people realize, like, God bless if you're watching us in G&D, right? Like, there is a significant difference between us here that have, I would like to think, valid criticisms and valid things that they can improve on, versus like, you know, hating someone for being a different race or hating somebody because they're suddenly a girl, you know, like you know, G&D has valid things. I would like to think, you know, we don't make our platform off of being like haters, you know. But go ahead, I'm so sorry. I had to pause because I was like, we don't like people that send hate and death threats to people over a piece of media.
Like, there's a good chunk of the game where you can defend and say it's pretty good, but like a certain point you're like, this is kind of like if I watch this Avengers eat shawarma for like 2 hours. As
I mean,
about the
and you
ending.
know what? That's very fair.
Yeah.
I do believe that that's a very fair criticism from what I heard. I still think that's very valid, you know? I just think that some people, I make this joke all the time where it's like, oh, somebody killed a character that you really, really liked and then made it somebody else's journey. First time?
Yeah.
First time?
Like,
You
it's
know,
not
it's
a new
like-
thing.
Like somebody that you identified in media dies over and has to be the perpetrator, like be the pushing force for somebody else's story that you don't relate to. First time, you know, couldn't be me. I said like most women in media that I like, most women in queer media that I relate to always end up being fridged or bury or gays. I'm like first time, you know, it's like a given for me pretty much. I mean, of course, you know, it sucks, but also it's like you don't see me sending death threats and hate messages towards the studio and its people. Dude, the Laura Bailey hate train was terrible. I was like, just because she did a job?
And the death threats continue for the face actor or the face model too. We were like, just leave these people alone. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Exactly. It's like, what's okay? Anyway, I feel like now you know what? We're gonna talk about that at a later point. You know, that might be a good what do you call it? And so it might be a good like not trophy room. It's rather
mosh pit.
Like another mosh pit. I was thinking trophy room for some reason. Yeah, it might be a good mosh pit. It's kind of like how we deal with media that we don't like. Oh, that's a good topic. Anyway.
That would be kind of, I don't know, high notes of like trophy room, our opinions. Like,
I know, right? I was like, what was it called? I can't remember. It's like things are not coming to my head properly. I remember it all caught up. Now I forgot I forgot mosh pit.
To be fair,
anyway,
we have like 3 segments already, so it's fine.
We do have 3 segments. It's a lot to take in whenever we have to do movies and shows and everything. But at the end of it, I'm so sorry. We went on such a long tangent. I was so worried that between you and me, Enzo, we wouldn't have a lot going on. But then I was like, no, we won't stop talking. It's an easy thing because it flows so easy, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to be like, Jomar, what about you? Enzo, what about you? And now we just go back and forth. But anyway, I think that's a good end. We're going to end it there. I'm excited. How about you, Enzo?
I'm excited too. I'm just sad that it's ending so soon.
Yeah, I know. It's so crazy how we've like caught up. Like, I have never been so loyal. Like every Monday, I have something to look forward to because it's Monday here in the Philippines and not, you know, because it's Sunday night in the States, Monday for us here. And so I'm always excited. I'm always like, oh my God, I cannot wait for my Monday morning cry session. The Bill and Frank episode got me because I watched it so early in the morning, the moment it dropped, and I was like, I'm so excited. And then I come out of it and I'm so depressed for the rest of the day.
Right.
But I'm also happy.
I mean, I had a session with some people for like work after that.
And you were like, ugh.
Like, do I really want to work right now? I mean, I kind of have to.
Yeah. Sometimes we just gotta be adults, just like Joma, where he has to do his job now.
Yeah.
So, with that, I think we can close it up. And so, can we tell them where they can find you and us, GND here?
Yeah, you can. Well, if you want to see more of us on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and ding the bell icon to get notified of when we upload next. We're also on Spotify and TikTok. TikTok to see our best and funniest moments, and Spotify to hear us on the go. Individually, you can find me at Delphus1995 on Twitter. How about you?
Oh, you get the how about you has to go straight to me because Jomar's not here. I'm always used to him, like, how about you being to him. But you guys can find me at 9_na at Instagram and Twitter. And so, tama ba yan? Yeah, Instagram and Twitter. Because I was thinking of Goodreads. Because I made a Goodreads account just the other day. But anyway, and with that...
Do you want to post your Goodreads account?
No! It's just for my friends. Fuck. And with that, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Let me know, actually, if you guys want me to start doing book reviews for G&D. I'll make them as entertaining as possible. Sure. And with that, thank you so much, everybody, again, for all caught up. And I hope you guys enjoyed that kind of, like, not really. Well, it was a very sad episode, but a very happy review. I enjoyed it today. And I mean, I always enjoy our reviews. And with that, thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'll see you at the next episode. Watch more. Guys, come on. There's more of us around. We have so many videos.
Bye.
Bye.